welcome back to my channel. So as most of you who have been around the channel for probably any amount of time know, I make clay dragons. I have a small business, Clay Dragon Corner, link will be down in the description. And I go to art shows. So I was just at, as of recording this, I was at an art festival over the weekend. And it was my first outdoor festival, it was my first 2-day festival, and I noticed some things there, and I've noticed some things in the past. So I thought I'd make a video talking about my opinions on art festivals, or what you should look for, especially if you're an artist, and especially if you're a new artist looking to do any of these. I've probably done about 10 shows, maybe. Which is for sure not a lot, but I know that it's more than some other people have done. It's a lot less than some other people have done, but I wanted to give my sort of advice or perspective on the art shows that I've been to. So the art shows in particular, or I guess the kinds of art shows that I've been to as an artist have been, I went to 2, technically 3, holiday bazaar markets at the local middle school. I went to 4 or 5 random markets which were run by a local art store that was close to me. And then just this past weekend I went to an outdoor festival a little ways away from me, not still local, but a little ways away from me. So I've been to 3 pretty different kinds of festivals. Never been to a con, never been to like a huge, I've never been to a juried art fair. I don't really think my products are the kind of thing that they're looking for at a juried art fair, nor do I really want them to be judged. I feel like that would, I enjoy making them, I know that people enjoy buying them. That's all I really need. I don't need some judge to tell me, oh yeah, your work is good, or oh no, your work sucks. I don't need that. I know some other people really enjoy doing juried art fairs, but that's just not my thing. Maybe I'll do one eventually, who knows? I don't know where they are exactly, but maybe I'll do one eventually. I just haven't done one yet. So and as most of you know as well, I have my online shop, my store NB. So yeah, so anyway, let's start with this weekend, let's start with this weekend because this was the most recent one. This was not the biggest one that I've done, but the most change from the other art festivals that I've done. So, outdoor art festivals. 1, most likely you will need to provide all of your own setup. So your own tent, your own tables, your own chairs. Thankfully, I had access to all of that stuff. I know that a couple years ago I would not have known. I'm glad that they told us that we needed to bring all that stuff, because again, as this was my first outdoor art fair, I had no idea what to expect. So you're responsible for your own stuff. So if you're selling at an outdoor art fair, be prepared to bring your own things. Make sure you have a tent. Make sure, number 2, that your tent has sides, because it started raining both days over the weekend, and thankfully my things are mostly waterproof, and only the tablecloths got wet, or thankfully some of my packaging didn't get wet even though it was on the ground. But make sure your tent has sides, and make sure you have a tent, because if you don't, you're gonna die. Especially if it's a summer art festival, you're not gonna make it out of the weekend. It was so goddamn hot. And I'm in Michigan, so we're not as hot as California or anywhere in the West Coast or the Southwest, even the Southeast. We're nowhere close to as hot as they are, but it was easily over 90 degrees with the humidity, because it was about to rain the entire weekend, so the humidity was god-awful. So yeah, be prepared for that. 3rd thing, bring lots of food and water, because at my particular festival, they had food trucks. but I don't know if that's a thing everywhere. I'm assuming it is, but you don't know. So bring lots of snacks and bring lots and lots of water, Gatorade, anything to keep your hydration up. Again, especially if it's a summer festival, because I know most of the art fairs happen, at least the outdoor ones. Most of those happen during the summer because that's when people want to be outside. I don't know why. But yeah, so make sure you have things that will keep you healthy. 4, bring sunscreen. Please bring sunscreen. My back, literally just like right here on my arm, is completely sunburned because where I was sitting, I wasn't sitting completely where the sun wasn't hitting me under the tent. It was all back here. So I put sunscreen on the second day on my arms, but forgot about my back because I was wearing something sleeveless the second day, whereas I was wearing my shirt with sleeves the first day. So bring sunscreen, bring sunglasses, bring a hat, especially if you don't have a tent. Please bring a tent because tents are good ideas. What else did I notice at this one in particular? Oh, bring some sort of umbrella or something, especially if you have to walk from wherever you park your car to wherever your booth is. That'll just be useful. And if you don't have sides on your tent, it's probably a good idea because you can hold it sort of over your shoulder so then you won't get as wet. If you don't have sides on your tent. 6, 7, I don't know what number we're on. Bring things that will weigh down things on your table, because especially if you have tablecloths or anything, if it gets windy, I had multiple signs blow over, I had my tablecloths fly up onto my dragons. We had to put pens around most of our tablecloths because it was too windy. Make sure you have something to weight, especially if you have like paper signs, or if you have stands. Like I have 3 like sort of cupcake stand type things where I put my dragons on. Make sure if they're not heavy, make sure you have something to weight them down because they will blow away, or they will at least blow over. And if you have fragile stuff like me, it will break. It will break. I don't know about paintings and stuff. I'm assuming if you have paintings, you'll want something to keep, either paintings or prints, you'll want something to keep them on whatever you have them on so they won't blow away. So make sure, regardless of what you're selling, that everything on your table and everything in your booth is secure and will not go away. Yeah. So we'll move on to the indoor festivals, I guess. So the indoor festivals, 1, you're gonna have a lot smaller amount of space than you will have at the outdoor festival, because at the outdoor festival, depending on what kind you go to, I don't know if they're all different, but for mine, it was, you had a 10 by 10 space and you could do what you wanted with it. So you could put out like one table, you could put out 3 tables. We had 2, so we turned them kind of into an L, so people still had some space to stand in the tent, and we also had space to sit behind, but then there were 2 like 6-foot tables. With an indoor festival, depending on what kind of indoor festival you go to, but all of the ones I went to, you have 1 table. 1 table, 1 space. You get the table and the 2 chairs, and that's it. You can't make an L out of your space, you can't whatever, you got the 1 table and that's it. So if you're like me, you have to edit your inventory. So the times that I had my indoor festivals were before 2020, and I spent pretty much all of 2020 making dragons, and the majority of, well, I can't even say the majority of 2021, but I spent a lot of time in 2021 making dragons as well. And because my shop updates weren't doing too well, other than my Pride one, which I'm still blown away by, I had a ton of inventory at this one, but at my other ones, I actually looked. I had made a checklist in my notes. I can actually put a screenshot up here. But I had a checklist in my notes that was for the holiday bazaar from 2019. So I had like, I need my inventory book, I need my price tags, I need my like tablecloth and my stand and stuff. Then right at the bottom, it said dragons in parentheses, 3 boxes. Little baby Liz only had 3 boxes of dragons. I now have, well, after this art fair, I only have 6, but those 6 are chock full of dragons. They are completely full of dragons. And before the art fair, I probably had 8 or 9, maybe 10, not completely full, but very close to that way full. So I had a lot of stuff. So if you're like me and you have a lot of stuff, you're gonna have to, when you're going to an indoor fair, you're most likely gonna have to edit whatever you have. So you won't be able to put out all of the things. So choose your best pieces to put out on that table. That's gonna be my problem this year because I have so many different pieces that I'm gonna have to choose which ones I put out if hopefully the bazaar is in person this year, because it wasn't last year, it was online. So indoor art fair, you gotta edit your stuff. You only get the one table. Also bring snacks and water because they may not provide it for you. I know that we sometimes had either the night before or in the morning, they had coffee and like pastries and stuff, and then they did have people come through and you could buy sandwiches from them, like the vendors could buy sandwiches, but that is still buying food. So if you're worried about that, if you don't think you're gonna sell a lot, and you're worried about using your money that you earn from that to pay for food, bring some of your own food and bring your own water, because you're gonna be talking to a lot of people. So even if you're not outside and you don't have to deal with the heat, you'll be in air conditioning or whatever, you still want to bring some water to make sure that you are hydrated and to make sure, because I was fairly certain I was going to lose my voice after this weekend. And thankfully shows are usually the indoor shows are only a day, so I wasn't too worried about losing my voice at any of those, but still, drink your water. I say that and I haven't drank any water today. Oops. Oh, number 4. Indoor festivals, at least the ones I've been to, are usually only a day. I think the exceptions to that are usually like Comic-Con or any of the cons that you go to. Usually those are multiple days, but you have 1 day to sell your stuff. I had 2 days at this outdoor festival to sell my stuff. So I was able to, there were people that came back the second day and bought things. There were people that came just 1 day, people that came the other, and anything like that, but you don't have that with the indoor festivals. You have 1 day, usually, in my experience, 1 day. So you have to make sure, if you want to sell something, that they'll actually sell. Like, that sounds weird, but like, you only have the 1 day, because what we did for the art festival this weekend was we had our prices at one thing the first day, and then we dropped them by about $5 the second day, because we wanted to sell more, wanted to make it more affordable, and just, we did have people buy at the higher prices. Like, that wasn't the problem. It was just that we felt that we should, for the second day, lower the prices, see what happens. So if you do that, you don't have that ability when you're at one of the indoor festivals. You just have the 1 day. Oh, make friends with your booth neighbors, especially if they sell food, because they may give you food, or they may be more willing to sell you food at a lower price. And honestly, I just enjoy making friends with my booth neighbors anyway. And it's a little harder to do at an outdoor festival because you have, especially if you have the tent sides, you can't see who's next to you. But yeah, so it's a little harder outside to make friends with your booth neighbors, but inside, because you guys only have like the 10-foot, 8-foot table, and you're all there, make friends with them. You'll have, especially if you're going to this art fair alone, because I know that quite a few times I have been at these art festivals alone. Like, it's just been me. My parents have come by, my boyfriend has come by, or my friends, whatever. But usually I was alone at these art fairs. It was just me at the table because I'm the only artist behind the whole thing. It was really funny this past weekend. A bunch of people, because my boyfriend Cam was with me, a bunch of people were asking, oh, so you guys do this? And he was like, nope. He pointed at me. He goes, she does all of it. So Cam, if you're watching this, thank you for coming and helping me out. But yeah, so make friends with your booth neighbors because it'll give you somebody to talk to, and you won't just be on your phone or just be like sitting there, just whatever. So yeah, make friends with your booth neighbors. Do art trades if you can. If you sell art, if you do art, like, see if people are willing to. This happens more at like the smaller shows. Like, I remember when I did some of the random markets, I was able to trade with some people because we had things of similar value. So I was like, oh, I've been looking at that thing. Would you like a dragon or something like that? Or some people have come up to me and they're like, oh, I've been looking at that dragon all day. Is there anything you want from my shop that we could trade for? So that's always super nice. I just love art trades anyway, because neither of us have to spend the money and we both get something out of it, something hopefully really cool out of it. So it's just a cool way to be able to get more art and to give more art. So yeah. But I think that's all for specifically indoor festivals. Now we'll go back to what I've noticed from the in-person stuff all around. So first thing, say hi to people. Just say, hi, how are you? Or just say hello, because people will stop and look. Even if they don't actually come over, it will stop them and they'll look at your stuff and maybe they'll actually come over. If you see somebody walking by and they don't respond to your hello, they're not your customer. Like, just they're not going to be your customer. They never were going to. They're looking for something specific, or they're not looking at buying anything. Those people are, that's fine. There are a lot of those. I've noticed them in many of the art fairs. Just, they walk straight on by. I noticed a lot of them in the festival this weekend. Because it was outside, they'd just walk by. They'd walk to one of the food trucks or something because we were right in front of the food trucks. And they wouldn't acknowledge us. And normally, if we saw somebody walking by like that, we wouldn't say hello because, again, we knew that they didn't have any intention of turning around, regardless of what we said, regardless of what we were selling. They just weren't gonna come by. So don't get, one, say hello to people, but two, don't get discouraged if somebody doesn't stop by your table. It's gonna happen. Not everybody's gonna buy something from you. Even the people that come by your table and come look at your stuff, not everybody's gonna buy something. Probably one out of maybe 10 people that comes by your table is gonna actually purchase something. So say hi to people. Don't take it personally if they just walk by your table. What else? Again, make friends with your booth neighbors because it'll give you something to do. Oh, bring something with you to do that's not on your phone. What I usually do is I've either brought my clay and made dragons. That was usually an earlier thing. Or I have my needlepoint where I make needlepoint ornaments, little cross-stitch ornaments. So I'll bring that with me to a fair, especially if you're there alone and you don't have anybody to talk to. Your booth neighbors aren't always going to want to talk to you, no matter how hard you try. And sometimes you're not going to want to talk to them either. So bring something to do with your hands that will distract you, but also not keep you from engaging with customers. Make sure your phone is charged, or make sure you have a way to charge it while you're there, because I use the little square reader and I was always checking my phone. And the first day I had 10% battery by the time I left. So thankfully it didn't die, but I only had 10% battery by the time I was done. Second day was a little better because I wasn't checking my phone as much. But yeah, so make sure your phone is fully charged and make sure you have a way to charge it, especially if it's not fully charged. Make sure you have all of your things together and make a list of what you need to bring. I was dumb and didn't make a list for myself for this past one, and I forgot my square reader. I had to drive back. It's about a 10 or 15 minute drive to my house and then the same drive back to where I was. Thankfully still it was in the area and I knew where I was going. But yeah, I had to come back while Cam was setting up the stuff, or while Cam was just like watching over the stuff, because I forgot the square reader and I forgot my little like business card holder and I forgot a couple other things. And just to make sure that you're not packing for the festival the day of. Pack your car the night before. Just especially if the setup is not the night before, because at this one it was just that morning, but at some of the other ones, like the bazaar, it's been, you set up the night before, you leave your stuff, you come back the next day and it's all ready. At the random markets, you would set up that day, that morning, so then you cleaned up later. So make sure you have a list, make sure you have everything you need before you need to leave, because even like if you have to set up the night before for something, make sure your stuff is packed like the night before that, as long as you don't have to like really drive your car around, or especially like me, my stuff is fragile, so I don't like driving around with it a lot of places. So just make sure you have the time, give yourself the time to pack your stuff and have the time to do a once or twice over to make sure you're not forgetting anything. But yeah, so indoor festivals, quite a bit different from outdoor festivals, but in some ways they are very similar. I enjoyed doing both. I think that I have a lot of things to learn from outdoor festivals because I've only done the one, and I really, really want to get back to doing the indoor festivals because I've only done one this year. But yeah, so art markets are some of my favorite things to do. I just love being able to see. It was really cute because quite a few, again, little kids, although they were sort of probably older elementary kids, they'd come through and they'd be looking at the stuff, and I'd say, oh, do you guys know Pokemon, or do you guys like Pokemon? And they're like, yeah. So I'd point to my 4 little evolutions that were left, and their eyes would get like 3 sizes bigger, and they'd be like, whoa. And it was so cute to see. And one of the things that I really love personally with my art is that because things are so gendered for little kids, even still, like boys have to have trucks and whatever, and girls have to have dolls and stuff like that, and even the colors still, it's getting better for sure, but it's still really, really gendered. But it's so cool to see both little boys and little girls coming up and being amazed and loving. Like I had probably the same amount of little girls buying dragons as I did the little boys, and it wasn't just like the little boys didn't just like the Pokemon ones and the little girls didn't just like the unicorn ones that I had. They liked all of them, or they liked a majority of them, and it was so sweet to see that. I even had like a teenage boy come in. He was like out with his friends or something, and he wandered into the booth and he was like, oh, these are really cool. And I was like, thank you. Because it's not meant just for, like, just because I'm a woman doing art, like, it's not just for women. It's for anybody. And it's so cool, especially the little kids, to see that they can both genders, or whatever gender, can appreciate the art that I do and enjoys the art that I do. So it's just, that's one of my favorite things. I loved going to art markets anyway, and it was always nice to talk to the vendors, because it was like, oh yeah, I do art as well, and like ask them about their experiences and stuff. But it was so cool. The first year I did the Holiday Bazaar, it was 2018. First year I did the Holiday Bazaar, wow, I've been doing it for 4 years now, almost. This will be my 4th year if I do it again this year. Wow. To be able to talk to the artists as a fellow vendor an artist instead of just like as a customer that happens to do art. Like it's really cool because you get to see a whole different side of them, because when you talk to them about art as a customer, it's just like, oh yeah, like I appreciate this thing and whatever, but then as a vendor you get that like, oh yeah, like these customers are like this, or like, are you having trouble with this thing too? And like you can sort of like, I was helping a lady who was behind me at the art festival this weekend. She was like, I don't know, I'm not very good with tech, I don't know what's going on with the, have you gotten the Square Reader to work? And I'm like, yeah, you have to click like offline payments. And then she came by again and she's like, I did offline payments, it's not going through. And I was like, oh, it's because it says it has to be under $100 and the total was like 105 or something like that. I'm like, yeah, it says it has to be under this amount of money. And she was like, oh, okay, so I can just fix that. So it was nice to be able to help people as, again, a vendor and fellow artist, as opposed to just a customer who happens to do art. But yeah, I love talking to the artists, I love talking to the customers. I love when the customers talk to me. There was a guy that came in and he was like, show me your best $40 dragon. And I was like, well, I have this one and this one. And sometimes it's really funny because people will ask, like, especially at this one, not so much at the other ones, maybe I haven't noticed, maybe this one's just closer in my memory, but people would ask what my favorite dragon was, and I was like, well, that's asking me to pick a favorite child, but I have a few favorites, because again, like, I have dragons that I'm proud of, I have ones that I'm not as proud of, just because, and to see a lot of my older dragons, because I had a lot of my older dragons as discounted, because again, they're older, they're more likely to break, like I can't promise that they're gonna stay together, but I wanted, because I know people still like them, so I had them at fairly discounted prices, and about half of them are gone now, like probably more than half of them are gone, which was really nice, because I did sell some of my other, like I think 4 of my Pride Dragons sold, I had a couple of more of my Halloween ones sell, which I'm mad about because I wanted more of the Halloween ones. I had 1 or 2 of the Christmas ones sell, all of that, but it was nice that some of the older ones sold too. But yeah, so just, I love art markets. They're so much fun. I hope I get to do more because I like doing them. And yeah, so anyway, I think that is it for this video. Sorry if I rambled on a little bit, but that's why this is like a let's talk video. So I wanted to share my experiences with art markets. If you are a fellow artist, leave a comment down below. Let me know what your experiences have been at art markets. If you've had the same or different or whatever, let me know. Leave a like if you haven't, subscribe if you haven't either, and I will see y'all in the next video. Love y'all!